Howdy, cruisers. All right, another question for you. This one is totally unscripted. I just kind of had this idea, so I thought I would bring it out to everybody and see what you guys thought. I did a video a while ago about what is the best first cruise, and my analysis was that you should take a 4-day Royal Caribbean cruise on a medium-sized ship like a Voyager or Freedom class ship, because that is probably the most average cruise experience. I love Royal Caribbean, that's not what I mean, but you know what I mean, right? It's the most middle of the road, it's the most middle cruise experience you can have. But then, for no particular reason, I was thinking about what would be the best first cruise to take someone who has never cruised before. There's a lot of different factors going on, because when you're planning a cruise for yourself or for your family or something like that, you have to consider the activities, what the different things people want to do, and what's available on the ship, and of course price and everything like that, and itinerary and logistics. But when you're taking somebody on their first cruise, I think there's different things you consider. I mean, you want them to have a good time, right? But you don't want to set a series of unreasonable expectations, nor do you want to scare them off by certain things happening. And, that requires a completely different thought pattern, something that I haven't honestly had to do ever. Wow, that sounds so sad. So, yeah, I started thinking about this. So what would you do? What type of cruise, what cruise line, what length, what type of ship would be best to take somebody on their first cruise? Because I was thinking, I recommend to people, if they're just curious, a little 2 or 3 day starter cruise, even on Margaritaville Paradise, just because it's inexpensive, and it is a real cruise experience, by the way. I mean, if you can get over the older ship and everything like that, it's a very easy way for people to just sort of tiptoe into cruising, or just dive right into the full-on mega experience, like Icon of the Seas or Star of the Seas, something that might be a little bit overwhelming to a first-time cruiser. So I'm thinking, yeah, it's good to keep it in the middle, but then, I have to consider, if I was on a 4-day Royal Caribbean cruise, I would be kind of been there, done that, and I don't want my, attitude. I know, come on, we know, right? To get in the way of them having a good time. So, I also don't want to, honestly, I don't, also, you also have to consider, you don't want to, okay, how to say this without getting in trouble. You don't want them to have too good an experience, because, you don't want to set the bar too high. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but, imagine, taking somebody on Explora journeys for their first cruise, right? And then you're like, oh, hey, look, a deal on Carnival. Yeah, you know how that's going to go. Divorce court. Anyway. So, all right. So, I don't know. I don't know. What would you think? I'm kind of thinking, in this particular case, I'm thinking Norwegian would probably be a great starter point, because it's a little bit more premium, right? You're showing them something a little more upscale, something a little bit more low key, right? Than even Royal Caribbean or anything like that. And there's not going to be certain things to deal with like you would have on Carnival, right? Let's just leave it at that. And it's not as kind of highfalutin or too froofy and fancy like you would find on some of the luxury lines, even Celebrity or whatever. In a weird way, Holland America actually might be a decent first experience for that as well. What I want to know, what are the things that you would consider for taking someone on their first cruise? What kind of experiences, what kind of vibe, what kind of energy would be good for that? Somebody who's never cruised before, who wants to, but really has no idea what they're getting into, right? And you would want them to go again. That kind of thing. That's what I'm thinking of. So what do you guys think? What would there be to consider, and where would you take somebody on their first cruise if you wanted them to go cruising with you more in the future? Again, I'm thinking about this for really just no particular reason. The idea just popped into my head just out of nowhere, really. So I know, I leave it to you. Comments below after you subscribe, taking somebody on their first cruise. Let me know. And well, if you do end up taking somebody on their first cruise and we happen to come to the same conclusion, maybe I will see you on board.